This injection isn't for humans. The alien nurse whispered. Dan. Everything changed. Ela had learned to measure time by the hum of the station's lights. Every few seconds they dipped in tone, like a tired breath being pulled in and pushed out. He lay on a narrow medical platform, arms at his sides, eyes fixed on the curved ceiling of translucent alloy. Beyond it, the stars of an unfamiliar system drifted slowly, cold and indifferent. He was not supposed to be here. Humans were not supposed to be here. The station belonged to the Coalition, a careful alliance of species that had spread across half the known spiral. Humans were new, recently discovered, and quietly feared. Their biology was unpredictable, their psychology unsettling, their history filled with wars they had somehow survived again and again. Eli was a logistics officer, not a soldier. He had been assigned to a joint relief mission after a mining colony collapsed under its own gravity drills. Something went wrong during evacuation. Radiation leaked. He absorbed more than the safety limits for any known species. Now he was on a medical table, surrounded by instruments that hummed softly, trying to understand a body they were never designed to heal. The nurse stepped closer. She was small compared to most of the station staff, with pale blue skin and dark eyes that reflected light like polished stone. Her name tag translated automatically on the air between them. Mara. Her movements were precise, practiced, but her hands hesitated as she prepared the injector. The device was slender, filled with a faintly glowing fluid that shifted color as it moved. Eli noticed the hesitation. Something wrong? He asked, his voice dry. Mara glanced toward the doorway, then back to him. The translator caught the subtle change in her tone as she leaned closer. This injection isn't for humans, she whispered. Eli blinked. Then why are you holding it? Because without it, she said quietly, your cells will fail within hours. No. The station lights hummed again. Eli laughed once, short and tired. You aliens have a strange way of calming patients. This compound is experimental, Mara continued. It was designed for species with slower cellular decay. It forces regeneration by overriding natural limits. And for humans? Eli asked. Mara's eyes flicked to the injector. For humans, there is no data. Eli closed his eyes for a moment. He thought of Earth, of oceans he had only seen once, of gravity that felt heavier than it should, but familiar, of a species that had learned to adapt or disappear. He opened his eyes. Do it! Mara hesitated. If it goes wrong, your nervous system could collapse. Or it could change you in ways we don't understand. Eli smiled faintly. That's kind of our thing. She pressed the injector against his arm, the moment the compound entered his bloodstream. Eli arched sharply, breath tearing from his lungs. The fluid burned like liquid lightning, racing through veins, flooding muscles, slamming into his chest. Alarms flared. The medical platform lit up with warning symbols. Mara stumbled back as Eli's heart rate spiked beyond safe limits. Stop the infusion, a voice barked from the doorway. Doctors rushed in, tall and wide and narrow and scaled, their forms a collection of the Coalition's diversity. They froze as they looked at the readings. Eli's cells were not failing. They were accelerating. His body convulsed once more, then went still. For a terrifying second, the alarms efflated. Then everything surged back. Stronger. Eli inhaled deeply, like a swimmer breaking the surface after too long underwater. His eyes snapped open, clear and focused. The pain was gone. The radiation markers on the displays dropped rapidly, dissolving as if time itself had reversed. Microfractures in bones sealed. Tissue repaired itself faster than the scanners could register. One of the doctors whispered. Impossible. Mara stared at Eli's arm, where the injector mark had already vanished. Eli sat up. The doctor stepped back instinctively. He swung his legs over the side of the platform and stood. His balance was perfect, his vision sharp. He could hear the station lights now, not just as a hum, but as layered vibrations, each frequency distinct. What did you do to me? He asked, calm and steady. Mara swallowed. We tried to save your life. Eli looked at his hands. They trembled slightly, not with weakness, but with contained energy. His heart beat slower now, stronger, each pulse deliberate. "Congratulations," he said softly. "You did." Word spread through the station faster than any official report. A human had survived an injection meant to overwhelm alien biology. Not only survived, but adapted. The coalition convened an emergency council. Eli was escorted to the chamber. No restraints, no guards, touching him directly. They did not know if that would be wise. Representatives filled the circular hall, their voices overlapping in controlled chaos. "This was reckless," one delegate said. "Unauthorized use of experimental compounds. This may have created a weapon," said another. Humans were already dangerous. Eli stood at the center, hands clasped behind his back. He felt the weight of their attention like pressure against his skin. Mara stood near the wall, silent. The council leader, an ancient being whose species had not known war in centuries, raised a limb. The chamber quieted. "Human," the leader said. "State your condition." Eli met its gaze. "I'm alive. That is not sufficient." Eli considered his words. "Your medicine did not override my limits. It pushed them. My body responded by changing the limits instead." A ripple moved through the chamber. "That should not be possible," someone said. Eli shrugged. "Our history is full of things that should not be possible." The leader leaned forward. "Are you a threat?" Eli thought of the mining colony, of humans digging too deep, pushing too far, then staying to fix the damage. "No," he said, "but I could be." Silence followed. Mara finally stepped forward. "This is not an accident," she said, voice shaking but clear. "Humans evolved on a world that punished weakness. Their bodies respond to stress by becoming stronger. We saw it as recklessness. It is survival." The leader studied Eli. "Can this be repeated?" Eli shook his head. "I don't know. And you shouldn't try without our consent." That answer surprised them. "You do not wish to share this advantage?" the leader asked. Eli smiled faintly. "We've learned what happens when power spreads faster than wisdom." The council recessed. In the days that followed, Eli was tested, observed, scanned endlessly. He cooperated, within limits. His strength had increased. His endurance was far beyond baseline human norms. His healing bordered on unbelievable. But he was still human. He still needed rest. He still felt fear. He still worried about what came next. Mara visited him often. "I'm sorry," she said one cycle, standing beside the viewport. "I shouldn't have taken that risk." Eli looked out at the stars. "You saved my life. I might have changed your species." Eli turned to her. "We've been changing ourselves since the first fire." Coalition ship arrived from the outer rim, carrying news of an approaching threat. An unknown fleet tearing through systems, ignoring treaties, overwhelming defenses. The council panicked. Their technology failed against the attackers' adaptive shields. Their weapons barely slowed them. They turned to Eli. "Your body adapted to something that should have killed you," the leader said. "Can humans adapt to this enemy?" Eli's expression hardened. "We always do." A message was sent to Earth, not a warning, an invitation. When the human fleet arrived weeks later, it was not the largest. It was not the most advanced, but it carried something new. Understanding human ships did not rely on fixed tactics. They changed mid-battle. Weapons adjusted frequency on the fly, armor reconfigured under fire. Pilots pushed beyond safety margins because they had learned that survival often lived just past the edge of comfort. Eli stood on the command deck of a coalition vessel. Watching the battle unfold, Mara stood beside him. "Was it the injection?" she asked. "Did it start this?" Eli shook his head. "No, it just reminded them who we are." The enemy fleet faltered, then broke. After the battle, the coalition rewrote its medical protocols, its diplomatic assumptions, its understanding of humans. They no longer asked why humans took impossible risks. They asked how Eli returned to Earth eventually, carrying data, not secrets. His condition stabilized. He did not become a monster. He became proof that when the universe whispered, "This isn't for you," humanity listened, then answered anyway.